Okay, cool. Thank you very much. I'll do my best not to undermine Paul Gilroy's assessment of my book over the next half an hour. Thank you very much, Nisha and Goldie, for inviting me, and thank you for Verinda for agreeing to discuss it with me. It's a pleasure, and particularly because of the kind of work you do at Warwick and because of my friendships with you. So thank you very much. It's nice to see lots of people here as well. Some people I know, and some people I don't, but I'm interested, I know of, and I'm interested in hearing what you have to think. I suppose what I'm going to say is posed around a series of questions around which I asked myself as I was writing the book. And when I got to the end of the book, I more or less had the same questions. So I'd be interested still to discuss those after with you. I've also written it in a slightly different way to how I normally do write these things. It's so hopefully that works as well. Okay, I'm just going to share my screen. Oh, I was going to say as well, seeing as this is about intimacy, obviously, if people do want to have their screens on and we can have some like visual sonic intimacy, then I can at least know that there's people there. Obviously, you don't have to. I can only see 5 of you anyway. So, right, let's go. Okay. Can people see this? Yeah. Okay. Let me just make sure the sound's sharing. Okay. So I'm going to talk for about half an hour or so, maybe just over. But okay, so this is called Sonic Intimacy, and I've been asked to come and speak about this book, Sonic Intimacy, which Nisha kindly introduced. But to begin our discussion of Sonic Intimacy this afternoon, what we're going to do is we're going to drop straight into a rave at One Nation's New Year's Eve party. And we're going to Ilford, London, and it's the 31st of December, 1997. And this film was made by Tom Cordell. So here we go.
Right, my watch. We got just about 60 seconds, Brocky. Sunless.
Who has got the time? Who's got the time? Have you got the time out there?
We got back.
No, who's got the time?
We got about 40 seconds, Brocky.
Oi, 40 seconds.
Rocks, we got back.
Oi, massive, about 40 seconds.
Rocks, we got back.
Oh, gosh.
About 30 seconds, Brocky. We got about 30 seconds, Brocky. One Nation, we got about 20 seconds.
Comply.
We got about 20 seconds
to comply.
As we take it down, we've got exactly about 15 seconds.
Hold on.
40, 30,
12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. One Nation!
Brocky, it is now officially 1998! Breakway! Happy New Year! Goes out to each and every one of you here. You made it to 1998! Breakway! Gotta go back to the beach, right? Back to the back, left to the back, right to the left to the right. Step back to the back of my walk. Gotta go back to the beach, right? Back to the back, left to the right. Still cry, still cry.
Jungle music is rave music, which is drum and bass, originating from the street.
It doesn't matter who you are, what you are, where you're from. If the music's running, it's running. It ain't like drum and bass ain't racist, and it ain't ageist, it ain't nothing. It's just the sort of coolest music.
How you with ready for the new son again, more shabby. Rolling, Ilford, Stratford, Lumsden, Gafford. Coming up right down Hartford, down Dartford, down Plumstead, Rumstead. I am the nun, into with some new slang. Come to Stoke, Newington, Clapton, Dawson, Oliver and from Tottenham, Edmonton and Oxford. We got a group from Weston, we got a group from South London, we got a group from Brixton, Croydon, Peckham, Shabba up the latest song on the back for the back of the DJ done. Hackney, Finsbury, Highbury, Piccadilly, back for the mic to Shabby. On the way to Battersea, N-O-N, D-O-N, representing the cool effort, nothing but to defend. One nation, big on one nation. Who them on the mic, I'm the mic veteran. Rocking and the shocking with the bass and drum, yum yum.
Yeah, the evening's kind of live, it's quite slamming out there, you know what I mean? There's a big crowd, things are happening, everyone's enjoying themselves, which is the most important thing. And boy, things are looking good.
One Nation, especially being in London and everything as well. You know, it's very multiracial, you know, white, black, Chinese, Indian, all races of people are here. That's why it's called One Nation. And everyone here, no trouble, no moodiness, and it's fun.
The crowd's hyping us up, that gives our inspiration to move. You know what I mean? We're entertainers and we're entertaining the crowd. So if the crowd are giving us what we want, we're giving them what they want. Anything they want, they just ask me. You know what I mean? And that's it, that's all I've got to say.
Hey, DJ in the area, who put them on the mic center? Hey, when the man lighter, One Nation, another arena. Hey, when the man lighter, I'm a done, but they roll.
Okay, so we've just seen the Jungle Rave in full effect. The dim lights and the lasers, the euphoria, the energy of the MC's voice, and the kinetic force of collective bodies. The jungle is massive, moving together, charged by the pounding bass lines, people from different walks of life having it. This is a techno, social, and sonic coming together. The rave is defined by your co-presence with sound, speakers, and revelers. That shared feeling of something bigger than you, a journey into something bottomless. You might otherwise know that coming together as the vibe, the groove, the buzz, but in jungle, it's the hype. Hype is jungle's name for sonic intimacy. We start with this jungle rave this afternoon because it marks physically, socially, and politically a moment of transition. Held in Ilford, the revellers dance on the borders of London and Essex, where the city meets the suburbs, new towns, and market towns beyond. The venue is the Island Ilford, a repurposed 1937 ABC cinema. One Nation is expanding, like the other raves that same evening, into the holes left in the fabric of the city by changing leisure practices, deindustrialisation, and social care cuts. Our tickets are dated New Year's Eve 1997, 7 months after New Labour came to power, 7 months after 2 decades of Tory rule. In the multiculturalist claims of those MCs and DJs we've just seen, we hear the organic conviviality of the dance floor, forged in those grim years of unemployment, endless Northern Irish War, and power-light racism, being reformed into the DV mantra, things can only get better. Here then we have the fag end of John Major's Britain, inner city neglect, porous capitalism, and tail end social democracy before New Labour's regeneration bulldozers move in. And as the ravers dance with the ghosts of the past, they herald the future at 160 beats per minute. The explosive libidinal energies that the rave, energies of that rave still hunger for something more than grimness and Blairite chic, just as they speed up the metronome for the digital capitalism to come. This moment then introduces some important questions for today's discussion. It helps us think about how Black diasporic sound culture is transforming and what is at stake in that transformation. And in the context of racism, nationalist consolidation, increasingly stratospheric capitalism, and visual, racial, computational capture, it asks why that matters. Today, then, I'm going to be talking about what is at stake in the transformation of sonic intimacy in Black diasporic sound culture. And to do that, I'm going to address the shifting techno-social sonic relations between jungle pirate radio and grime YouTube music videos. If the rave was the consecrating center of jungle culture, pirate radio was its ethereal body. There'd been UK pirate radio before, of course, broadcast from ships in the 1950s and 60s, and later from illicit land-based transmitters, but jungle pirate radio was different. Jungle pirate radio refused to be folded into the commercial choice frameworks that characterized radio innovation of the day. As part of an autonomous economy of pressing houses, record stores, and transmitter fabricators, it existed to provide music otherwise denied to the massive. Jungle pirate radio was broadcast from sheds, disused flats, squats, and hired premises, but it is most associated with tower blocks. Pirate radio transmitters were placed on the rooftops of all local authority housing because FM signals do not travel well through solid objects, such as dense city housing. It is not hard then to make the connection between jungle pirate radio and the welfare state. But jungle pirate radio did not just sprout from social democratic housing, it was a mutualist undertaking too. In terms of its social organisation, jungle pirate radio comprised the DJs and MCs, but so too the technicians responsible for transmission, and sometimes the caretakers and residents who could facilitate access to the roof or phone into the station should the Department of Trade and Industry, the DTI, pull up below. The DTI was the government department responsible then for enforcing broadcast legislation. As Miley from Defection FM explained to Select magazine in 1993, the thing is, we've got 20 years of family life behind us in this area. Everyone knows everyone. If a car pulls up outside that looks like it might be the DTI, someone's old girl will have rung us up before they've opened the car door. Defection 89.4 FM was one of the earlier jungle pirates, and like Cool and Weekend Rush, it broadcast from Hackney's Nightingale estate. So we see this is Nightingale estate here, circa 1992. We just have some images of Defection FM from a Select magazine feature that was done in 1993. So jungle pirate radio was a pleasure infrastructure, humorous in its defiance and defiant in its humor. And at Defection FM 89.4 FM, this politics was incorporated into the logo, which pirate to mocking effect the DTI logo itself. You can see here the Defection FM's logo with the DTI incorporated into it, Department of Trade and Industry. Locked in to 89.4 Defection FM, we're now with DJ Wicked.
Let's go London town. Sounds of the Wicked. Getting busy in the place. Let's go. What are you 894? Go out to the bonk screw, go out to the man of concrete rack, go out to the Peter Bouncer. Yes, the sounds of the DJ Wicked, sounds of the 894. Sounds of the DJ Wicked. On 894 Defection, 0831 323 099. Right out to the full crew in the place. We're going into the bass selection, London Town. Let's go. In the mix. Sounds of the DJ Wicked.
Okay. Nicely faded out there, as you can see. So what we're listening to is an exciting moment in musical history. The sounds that come to be called jungle are emerging from hardcore, hip-hop, techno, reggae and dub at the same time as the different taste and racial geographies of the Thames Basin are coming together. These social and sonic movements are being channeled, held and sustained by an ethereal form of hype emanating from Jungle Pirate Radio transmitters. On this evening in 1992, thousands of radios are locked in, forming a co-presence, a connectivity between the station and listeners, and a sense of oneness, the massive, firmly and fervently and commonly held. In a fractured and sped up society, Jungle Pirate Radio is the unifying force through which listeners in different places, physically and socially, feel they are known and heard by others. Untidy and error-prone, imperfect, redolent of stutters, mumbles and background noise, the MC's voice is sometimes barely audible over the music. That patterning generates presence, it generates intimacy, it affirms the messy vernacular of everyday life, opening listeners to the station and to each other, something impossible for the disembodied voice of BBC Radio Unity. The feeling of hype, of a system on the edge, of a fire lit under a single point in time is not only down to the music, the emceeing and the mixing, because the hype that you have just heard is also composed throughout Jungle Pirate Radio's wider sonic, technological and social relations. It is established through technicians' search for transmission sites, climbing onto roofs with the anticipation of broadcast and being caught and the risk of being caught. It is generated through the DJ's experience, the excitement of being called in, feeling like you've just won the FA Cup, getting ready to play, going down to the station, hiding your records, climbing in the lift, getting on the decks, and playing all of that back to the city. Home after a night out, hype is tuning in, phone-ins, feeling the rave in the living room. It's the call and response. It's the rush from the bass of a stereo that doesn't have bass. Your body recalling the dance through aural signals that are no longer registered on the surface of the skin. In a landscape of isolated microenvironments, bedrooms, cars, and living rooms, hype is the shrinking distance from a stranger's metropolis to London town, a patchwork of 10 to 25 kilometre radius jungle transmissions, and the extension of empathy from yourself to the junglist massive. Flicking through the dial to Cool FM 94.6, MC Det is now Hype's principal conductor.
All the crew, hold tight the tonic, hold tight the skibbity, hold tight the wild child, absolutely slamming. Goes out to all the massive locked in, especially all of those that voted us in. Best radio station in 95, watch the ride as we group top profile. The original style goes out to all those just getting catch, trying to stick a tape in. We're rolling.
Now people want to hear the words, you know, so I can play it in a different style. Listen, 16 track thing, listen, acapella style, listen, acapella style, listen, acapella style, listen.
the maximum boost out to the governor. Hold tight the Smurf. Goes out to the Ragga Twins. Hold tight Flinty, hold tight Demon. Goes out to the Superman. Absolutely rolling 94.5. Step up in a place, tying up rock wild. Listen DJ Rocky with the true jungle style. Step back in a place, my DJ. Goes out to those cruising on the open road. Trying to take the maximum of control as we flex the vibe coming at you. For the ladies, for the guys. Big things are going. As we're nicing up the land, big things are going. Now rolling, rolling, let it roll. Trying to take the full control. Brokey. My DJ. Hip hip. For the bubble express, let's get active. For the Sunday night slam, goes out to those that just don't give a damn. Working up your spine with the original star for the weekend.
Okay, and we'll leave 16 track ting there. By the late 1990s, the urban terrain is changing. The high-rise council blocks integral to pirate radio transmissions are being demolished. Tony Blair has come to power, promising to rescue the inner city from decay, raising council estates and former industrial land for private developer rentier profit. The roll call of pirate shout-outs to Clapton Park, Pembury, Packington, Holly Street and Stonebridge are now debris in a capital flow. The record shops, bars, clubs and rave venues that comprised the mutual and also entrepreneurial arm of the Jungleist Massive are being gradually replaced with online possibilities, decoupling place from culture through everywhere but nowhere content delivery. That didn't happen overnight. UK garage and the first wave of grime was still steeped in jungle culture. But from 2008, YouTube and a new generation of mobile phones fitted with cameras and sound recorders provided the possibility for young people brought up with jungle's ethics of sharing and mutualist production, the possibility to share their music with the world. It's 2003 now, and we're at Deja Vu's studio on Waterden Road, today laid beneath Olympic Park, Stratford. Dizzy Rascal is on the mic in the company of Crazy Titch, Wiley, Maxwell D, Lady Fury, God's Gift, Demon, Tinchy Strider, DEE and Sharky Major, heralding a scene which will come to be known as grime.
All the crew.
3 plus 2, get butted up, get one, get through. Die with the eagle, I suggest you don't try with the... Never look down, place up with sun, never lose none. Make sure what's that, never been one. 3 plus 2 plus 3 plus 1. Millimeter are gone, make up where from. Ain't no comedy, ain't no fun. He came, he test, he got stung. And I'm making MC feel glum. 3 times 10 plus 7 plus 1. Till the boy bring it on, till the boy come. Look, 10 plus 8 plus 1. You don't want a little bit, you don't want none. 9 plus 8 plus 3 plus 2. Get butted up, get one, get slew. Hit it with a PP 5 plus 2. Max 5 plus 3 plus 2. You don't wanna bring arms out, I'll bring arms out to your mum's house. And you don't wanna bring no beef, bring some beef, you lose some teeth ups. You don't wanna bring arms out, I'll bring arms out to your mum's house.
Okay. We just see Wiley catch the camera there, looks at the camera. We've just been watching the Conflict video made by A+ and released on DVD. It documents, as Dan Hancock has discussed, a foundational moment for the grime scene. But the video is also historic because it shows a moment of transition in which pirate radio becomes digested by YouTube. While this famous video of Deja Vu Pirate Radio Station is part of grime insider folklore, it only became public knowledge really after it was uploaded to YouTube. What we are watching then is a pirate radio sound culture at odds with the dominant energies of the city, and a DVD culture linked to those energies through autonomous record stores turned to the informatic temporalities of YouTube, which indeed become its media archive. It is from this moment that grime artists growing up with YouTube and its surrounding media ecologies come to see the economies, social practices and temporalities of their scene through their intimacy with YouTube, and equate doing the numbers on that platform, not the first pirate radio slot or sound system appearance, as the benchmark of success. This is a significant shift in the intimate relation between Black diasporic music cultures and their technologies. Grime artists coming of age in this period did not launch their careers on pirate radios or in clubs. The police's campaign against grime nights is also well documented, but through mobile phones and YouTube. Stormzy recalls. I know quite a lot of grime artists started off on pirate radio, but I missed that era. I was way too young. I was emceeing in the playground, spitting lyrics over mobile phones, Sony Ericssons, Walkmans W810s, the teardrop Nokia phones, all of that, vital equipment. I've never seen a DJ set where DJ's playing vinyl and I'm spitting. Over only a few years, between 2003 and 2008, Black diasporic culture then shifted its 20th century affinity for analog sound technology to a 21st century compulsion for digital and networked music videos. What this entailed was the mainstreaming of capitalism through the alternative infrastructures, technologies, and relations of the massive. The form of mutuality that had long existed in Black diasporic sound culture was co-opted into systems of prosumption that capitalized precisely on the forms of cooperation that had persisted beneath profiteering. Rituals of journey, purchase, selection, and placing a record on the turntable were reduced to a click. As grime producer Trick said, "You can upload your stuff, send it out to anyone, and anyone in the world can hear it." But importantly, this anyone is often an empty figure. Although redolent with images of street life and local affiliation, as the autonomous hubs of pirate radio stations were replaced by algorithms, grime YouTube music videos were increasingly for elsewhere. This is a shift for the unloved, from a city that embraces you back to the cold rush of online likes. The wisdom, feel, and energy of British cities still flows through grime and indeed drill videos, even as the atomized hype of jungle pirate radio heralded the viscosity, endorphins, blue light, and paper-thin permanence of YouTube music culture. YouTube grime videos are still the production of a lived city for a sound culture not easily ethnically owned. But they are, to the knowledge of elsewhere, sonically traced and digitally produced, where contemporary interlocutors are known increasingly through Google Analytics, and detached spectators are fed on decontextualized images of racialized and saleable selves. With grime YouTube music videos, we now see the sound more than we hear it. This is the recalibration of sonics, a recoloring of the sound, a resensitizing of effect as the sonic matrix is absorbed into the visual field. Music we used to know through sound that made videos strange comes to be known through videos that makes the audio alone feel strange. This, as Ballon notes, is a form of cultural cannibalization, in which the sound becomes digitized lifetimes ago, consumed by the image, which is singing. The MC's voice is heard, but now mainly seen. Listeners no longer have to guess which MC is which, as they did with pirate radio broadcast. The recall of intonation, pitch, meter, and content is a lost art. Those high stakes arguments held between friends over who is who on an audio track are given visual clarity. The identity of rappers, the racial gendered codes of their bodies, and their somatic movement starts to sing, calibrating the hype and the intensity of their wordplay. In this way too, the open sonics that called across the city are folded back into the visual and racial regimes they formerly exceeded, as the excessive belligerence of the police towards the rap artist Giggs showed. The visual coding of his early and indeed seminal for the genre YouTube video, Talking the Hardest, stuck to Giggs's body in a way not possible when, as with Jungle, blackness and by racist association, criminality is an assessment of sonics alone. Inevitably then, YouTube grime artists start to understand their expression on these terms too. And we see that with Wiley in that video, learning social roles, performing social scripts for the camera. They learn to be in front of the camera, said grime DVD pioneer Rooney Keefe. In this way, the possibility for the grottiest tune, where sound comes before ethnic affinity, is tightened, but not eliminated. Grime remains a multi-ethnic genre in that sense, and sound still exceeds the visual logocentric field. The question I want to end with is, a decade after grime's embrace of YouTube, does sonic intimacy still retain its privileged status as the carrier of alternative human and planetary politics in modernity? A great time perspective would argue yes, but it is also the case that it has been radically transformed, and on the very terms by which it is free, those transformations matter. Thank you.
Thanks, Malcolm. So if we move straight to Verinda, who's going to respond.